Hey guys, Civilord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be continuing our looks at the Masters of the Universe Origins Cartoon Collection 2000 X-Line with my boy, good old Webstor. The Spider. Brought to us by the fine folks over at Mattel, who are obviously going to be fine folks in this instant because, spoiler alert, one of my favorite figures in the line, currently tied with Clawful for a Figure of the Year contender, and it should be blatantly obvious why. I have always been a sucker for Webstor. I've always been a sucker for Clawful. I've been a sucker for plenty of MOTU characters in general, but those two in particular, I don't know what it is, but they just do something for me. So taking a closer look at a Webstor here, because not for nothing, he comes with no accessories. So we're just gonna cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at the beast himself, because this figure is quite the beast of a figure, because all these spider legs are individually articulated. You can rotate them. You could pop them out if you want. I don't see why. I will say, I do kind of wish these had better collapsibility like the Masterverse one. Feels like they're kind of fighting me a bit to go down. Whereas the Masterverse one, they just kind of worked. But that's fine. It just is what it is. Maybe I need to adjust that hinge when it's not attached to him. But as far as his articulation goes, of course, you know, all the spider legs move. I will say, they don't plug into his back the tightest, but I guess it's better than breaking stuff because the pegs are relatively small, so I suppose that's a good thing. His head can look up all the way, like, holy crap. Can look back down, he can look side to side, no problem, because double ball pegs are the king. Even when they're crazy hunched spider monsters like this guy. Shoulders will pop out, back down, rotate forward and back. Single jointed elbow with rotation. Somebody had like separate gauntlets in this line that I got recently. It must be Whiplash. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Is that a spoiler? Maybe. He's got a hinge, swivel wrist. He's got a waist twist. Hips, way more range than Merman. Single jointed knee. Swivel at the boot. Then a hinge at the foot. With a rocker. And peg holes at the bottom of the feet, which you might want to stand for this guy. He's supposed to stand kind of degenerate. Or, in layman's terms, like a chicken. So, you know, maybe a stand would help. But I didn't have any problems with mine, other than his foot was warped. I tend to just have him leaning against something anyways. And not for nothing, you don't need to take this armor off to get these spider legs on. Like I mentioned, they are relatively easy to get in there once you've heated up the hinges. And not for nothing, I popped the armor off mine, thinking I was going to have to do some mad heating to get those bits in, because small pigs, I don't want to take my chances. No, don't do that. It's a pain in the nuts to get the armor back on, especially if you're not using heat. I was using heat, and it was still a pain in the nuts, so, you know, keep that in mind. I do wish these were a bit tighter, but I guess you could always throw some adhesive in there. And I know some people are going to be like, Overlord, I thought you didn't like adhesive. I don't, but it's a lot different when it's a $20 figure as opposed to like a $40 or $50 one. Those are expensive enough. You shouldn't have to use that type of stuff on there. Four Horsemen looking at you with your loose as heck gladiator figures. But at any rate, I'm sure somebody's going to be all, ooh, that's nice. So with that being said, now that I've talked enough smack, I think it's time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. first up, here we have good old Webstor, alongside a couple other evil warriors from this 2000X cartoon collection, both of which we've already looked at here on the channel, so please check those reviews out if you haven't already. Really appreciate it if you did. That said, we have Skeletor, the Lord of Destruction. It's a bit of a carryover from yesterday's review we did of good old and not for nothing, it's 2000X Origins. They are all pretty much the same quote-unquote scale and or height, but sometimes they do have parts that make them stand out, like Webstor has his digitigrade or chicken feet, as well as a bit of a hunched back to him, so he stands a little bit differently to these two, which is cool. I like a little bit of variety in the line. It's something I wasn't crazy about with the standard Origins or the Filmation cartoon collection. They were all pretty much the same, and I know that's kind of the name of the game, but growing up with 2000X, I was used to characters being all different shapes and sizes, and well, this cartoon collection, for the most part, has been able to do that, and that's probably why I enjoy it so much. Getting these two out of here so we can make way for our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's brother Mandibulith and the infamous 11 Spawn, who as usual towers over everyone. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and if you haven't figured it out by now, good old Webstor here is by far my favorite basic figure from this 2000X cartoon collection, only to be rivaled by the deluxe Clawful. Because not for nothing, Webstor and Clawful are my boys. Merman's my boy too, but I don't know, I'm just not feeling him like I am Webstor and Clawful. These two figures, for whatever reason, are contenders for Figures of the Year. Heck, they might even share a spot. Only time will tell, I guess. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.